Silent Hill is back, and those 4 words alone carry so much weight for fans who have been waiting over a decade for the fog to roll in yet again. And after years of silence, cancellations, and endless rumors, Konami has finally delivered a brand new mainline Silent Hill game, and that is Silent Hill F. And now this one's different though. It's a prequel set in 1960s Japan, written by Ryukishi 07, the creator behind Higurashi and Umineko. And so right from the start, expectations were sky high. Fans wanted atmosphere, they wanted dread, they wanted a story that cut deeper than cheap scares. And the big question was always going to be, could this live up to the legend of Silent Hill? And well, the reviews are in. Critics have spoken, players are reacting, and the picture that is emerging is fascinating. So today, let's break it all down. What people love about Silent Hill F, what they don't, and what it all means for the future of the franchise. Let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing that almost every review points to is the atmosphere. If there's one thing that Silent Hill F nails, is its mood. Jessica Cogswell over at GameSpot said the game sets a new benchmark for the Silent Hill series, and went on to describe the rural town as so haunting and alive that it feels like a character in itself. And that's high praise, and it's been echoed across the board. The setting does a lot of heavy lifting. Instead of the familiar American town, we're plunged into a fog-shrouded slice of 1960s Japan, with decaying houses, narrow streets, and an oppressive air that hangs over every corner. MeriStation said that just walking through the village, slowly reading notes, piecing together bits of lore, was some of the most effective Silent Hill design that they've seen in years. And so for longtime fans, that is music to their ears. And now sound design is another area where reviewers can't stop gushing about. DualShockers highlighted the way that Akira Yamaoka's score combines the industrial eeriness he's known for with traditional Japanese instruments to create something both familiar and unsettlingly new. And they said the music hits like a punch to the gut, and for Silent Hill, that's exactly the kind of impact that you want. And then, of course, there's the story, and this is where Ryukishi 07's influence shines. Reviewers are calling it one of the most emotionally driven Silent Hill narratives ever. Hanako, the protagonist, isn't just running from monsters, she's dealing with isolation, trauma, and societal repression. Xbox Era pointed out how the game doesn't shy away from heavy topics like abuse and shame, and how those themes bleed into the supernatural in a way that makes the horror feel deeply personal. And now it's not just about scary creatures, it's about what those creatures represent. And Game Rant even described it as a bold and brutal new take on the classic series, noting that it doesn't simply rely on nostalgia. Instead, it tries to push forward with new ideas while still keeping that Silent Hill DNA intact. And Pure Xbox in the review roundup quoted outlets saying Silent Hill F is a masterful horror game that stands tall alongside Silent Hill 2. And so that's not a comparison anyone makes lightly. And we also can't forget about exploration, because exploration also gets a lot of love. For many, the quieter moments of wandering through fog-drenched streets and slowly uncovering the story are some of the best in the entire series. MeriStation said those sequences of exploration are where the game truly shines. You got tense, unnerving, and authentically Silent Hill. And so if we stopped here, you'd think that Silent Hill F was a flawless masterpiece. And it sounds great, but of course, no game ever is. And so this is where the tone of the reviews shift, and it's mostly centered around one thing, and that is combat. On paper, the idea is solid. Melee combat with dodges, parries, and stamina management. A system that forces you to weigh every move carefully, making each encounter feel dangerous. And some outlets, like GameSpot, actually praised it as strategic and satisfying when you land a perfect counter. But for many others, this is where Silent Hill F stumbles. Push Square argued that the combat tips the balance too far towards action, calling it grueling and even frustrating at times. MeriStation echoed that sentiment, saying that while exploration is incredible, the action moments often interrupt the tension rather than heighten it. And the comparisons to Souls-like games have also been impossible to avoid. Because of the stamina bar, the dodge mechanics, and the punishing nature of fights, a lot of people are calling this Silent Souls. The developers have pushed back on that label, but reviewers like Pure Xbox mention issues like stun locks and difficulty spikes that make fights feel unfair. And so for some, that adds tension, and for others, it breaks immersion. And it's not just combat, technical issues have cropped up in a lot of reviews as well. While many outlets praise the visuals as spectacular and disgustingly beautiful, there are reports of frame rate dips, texture pop-ins, and stiff animations. And now Push Square specifically pointed out that these problems undercut some of the most immersive moments. And now they're not game-breaking, but in a horror game, even small cracks and polish can pull you out of the experience. And now pacing is another sticking point. Silent Hill games have always been about balancing quiet exploration with bursts of danger. But several reviews noted that Silent F doesn't always transition smoothly. You can go from a perfectly creepy exploration sequence into a boss fight that feels like it belongs in a different game. And that jarring shift can undermine the slow burn dread that the series is known for. And last but not least was length. Pure Xbox mentioned that the campaign isn't especially long if you just stick to the main path. Yes, there are multiple endings and replayability, but for players expecting a sprawling 20+ hour experience, the credits might roll sooner than they'd like. And so to sum up the negatives, combat is divisive, technical polish is inconsistent, pacing can be uneven, and the story may be shorter than some were hoping. And now beyond the critics, the community reaction has been just as split. On game FAQs, for example, players are praising the story, puzzles, and atmosphere, but a lot of threads flat out call combat the weakest link. And some say it eventually clicks, others say it never does. And difficulty is another hot topic. Many fans recommend playing on story mode, which lets the narrative and atmosphere shine without the frustration of punishing combat. And on higher difficulties though, people are finding it brutal and not always in a good way. And as for the numbers, Indie 100 reported that Silent Hill F is sitting at an 86 on Metacritic and around an 85 on OpenCritic. And so that's generally favorable, leaning towards strong. Not universal acclaim, but definitely a success by modern horror standards. And so who's going to love Silent Hill F and who's going to bounce off of it? Well, if you're someone who values atmosphere, story, and sound design above all else, this game is going to deliver. Reviewers from GameSpot to DualShockers to Game Rant are all calling those elements some of the strongest the series has ever had. But if you're the type of player who hates finicky combat systems, or if you wanted Silent Hill to stick closer to its roots of vulnerability and helplessness, you may find yourself frustrated. Push Square, MeriStation, and Pure Xbox all warned about that exact issue. And for newcomers, story mode might be the sweet spot. It lets you experience the incredible narrative and oppressive atmosphere without banging your head against difficult combat. Hardcore players who enjoy the challenge, on the other hand, might actually appreciate the higher difficulty. And so where does that leave Silent Hill F? It's not perfect, the combat is going to divide people, and the pacing can be uneven, and technical hiccups are there. But at the same time, the atmosphere, the story, the sound, the sheer feeling of dread, those are being hailed as some of the best in these series. Some reviewers like GameSpot are calling it a new benchmark. Others like Push Square are more cautious, pointing out that its flaws can't be ignored, but what's clear is that Silent Hill F is ambitious, and in many ways, it succeeds at bringing Silent Hill back into the modern era. And now it may not replace Silent Hill 2 in the mind of purists, but it shows that this series still has life. And honestly, after so many years in the dark, that is worth celebrating. So of course, that's just what the critics are saying. So my overall question to you is, are you excited for Silent Hill F? I believe early access comes out tomorrow when I'm putting this video up. And then also the game, overall, the game I think comes out on the 25th if you don't pay for early access, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. But of course, let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Do you like what you've seen so far? Are you going to wait for it to go on sale? Or do you just simply not care? And now if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you're new, as I will continue to make more gaming news videos just like this one. Until next time.